I'm very happy to be here today on the occasion of Tax Free World Association 2025 in Cannes with Mr. Sergio Momo. Thank you so much for accepting this interview today. I will let you tell the stories of the new calendar and the new launches for the next year.
Yes, like usually in Cannes is a precious moment to introduce what will be launched between the end of the year 2025 and the beginning of the first half of the 2026. We have a fixed calendar with the Torino collection for the ATP finals. So as you know, Xerjoff is being a sponsor for the last 5 years, and this is the final year, so it's the 5th year. So we are launching the Torino 25, Torino 25, and that will be presented in the market during the month of November during the ATP finals. We have then, which is this one. So we can have a look to the packaging. This is the last of the 5 perfume dedicated to the collection. So from 21st to the 25th, and this perfume is actually dedicated to the celebration of the ATP tournament, followed by a new shooting star. Shooting Star is one of the main collection of the Xerjoff portfolio. Is actually the second collection which was launched back 16-17 years ago. Obviously throughout the years the collection has grown, but we haven't launched Shooting Star perfume for a long time, since 2018 or 19 I believe. So Gibeon is the new launch. Like many of the Xerjoff follower knows, each shooting star's name comes from a shooting star meteorite's real name. So Gibeon is not different from the previous collection. Very traditional blend. By traditional, I think that we're going back in the history of perfumery, where the patchouli, the rose, and the iris is actually in the hard notes. But nevertheless, we have something really interesting on the top note, making it a little bit particular. But this was extremely very well welcomed by the public during these few days of presentation. Now we can go to Casa Moratti. As you know, Casa Moratti is a brand which belongs to the Sergio family. The brand is Casa Moratti 1888. It's not just a date, it's actually when it was founded. So Casa Moratti was created in Bologna in 1888. It went for at least 4 generations. By 6, it ceased to exist soon after the Second World War. So then it actually kind of got forgotten by the public. So we in Sergio, we thought it was good, not just a commercial idea, but a cultural idea to bring it back to the market. So today we have a very rich portfolio of the Casa Moratti blends. We also have dedicated boutique, so that shows that there's always been, but even now, more and more interest into this particular brand. We are launching this new release, which is called Tempio d'Acqua, and Tempio d'Acqua is which means the temple of water. Tempio d'Acqua is actually the story of one of the most ancient and beautiful spa in Italy, in Salso Maggiore, and not only is particularly important and famous, but inside there are the decoration, the architecture is really reflect, I would say, the Casa Moratti style with the Art Nouveau, Art Deco. So we kind of blend the two things together, and from the stylish point of view to the perfume point of view, we are soon launching in end of November the new Casa Moratti, a fruity floral, aquatic notes. What else do we have here? Of course, I mean, we are also reviewing very quickly what we have launched in the previous months. So we have Coro, which is part of the Vibe collection, as well as Purple Accento. These are actually not new perfumes, they were exclusive perfume in UK, which are being released worldwide. So this is a kind of information that we are giving to the international public, because before many years these two perfumes have been exclusive to retailers in UK. We have then, of course, presented once again the Duran Duran collection. which was launched early last year. But we're still in the process, obviously, of making distribution and events. And despite you see here 5 different bottles, perfume are only 2. The Black Moonlight comes in this look and feel, and while the Neo Rio comes in a selection of 4 different colors. Really welcome, very well welcome in the international market. We are really proud of the results, and there is still a lot to do in order to introduce in the rest of the market, but we are very satisfied with the process so far. So we've been talking about the JTC, we're talking about Shooting Star, we're talking about Casa Moratti, and last that we are launching and presenting during Cannes 2025 is actually Louis XV Rosé. Last year we presented to the trade our collaboration, our co-branding with the Devenage Maison. It's particularly interesting because in Xerjoff we always wanted to create our own champagne, but being Italian, of course, that was quite difficult. So we've been trying to contact few champagne producers, a few maisons in France, and we were lucky enough to meet Devenage, which is a very important historical brand, which accepted to do this kind of let's say cultural trade. We will produce a perfume for them, and they will produce a champagne for us, and so it happened. And last year we presented the Louis XV. The reason behind the name is that the king, when he got married in, of course, in Reims, where all the kings were used to celebrate the marriage, the Devenage champagne was actually the official champagne. So that's why the name, which actually is part of the top collection of the champagne portfolio. We launched last year Louis XV, and this year we're launching the Rosé version, and not only from the color obviously of the flacon, but the rose and the floral notes are pretty much heroes of the blend. Both the Louis XV and the Louis XV Rosé, they have this kind of a sparkling attitude, because that is the idea behind this kind of a co-branding between champagne and perfumes. And well, it seems that it was really welcome, especially yesterday for the official presentation. So we're looking forward to see the result of new launch. So that is bringing us all the way to the May-June of 2026. Well, then we will present the new launches. So we have some very important collaboration to announce, but again, we will have time to get through the new releases for the end of 2026.
Thank you so much. I think it's really important to follow you and your activities, as our community is always curious about the inspiration behind and what is bringing to the market Xerjoff, which is a powerful brand, and of course his expansion is very important on different continents. As we were curious to find out and to discover how did you performed at the sensorial dinner in Paris, how this idea came into your mind, and how did you do it exactly?
Well, since many years I've been working on this multisensorial aspect of the perfumery. That means that my goal was to try to express different forms of art with the perfumes. So we started with music and with art, and we tried to associate the art of perfumery with different kind of art. And when it came to the sense of taste, of course, the haute cuisine was one of the most important forms of art which was connected with the perfume. And we were and we are lucky enough to collaborate with Yannick Aleno, which is obviously is a worldwide known chef. Incredible meetings about the connection between the taste and the smell and everything which was surrounding both forms of art. So we came up to the idea of creating a dedicated menu, if you can call it like that, in some selected restaurants, in the Yannick Aleno restaurants around the world. And so the way that we work together is Yannick actually chosen some of the Sergio perfume from the portfolio. So once he chosen the perfume, then he started to elaborate a recipe which will be presented to the customer, which obviously are booked in the restaurant. The restaurants are chosen in different geographic areas, goes from Monaco in south of France, in Dubai, in South Korea, in Paris, of course, and so on. So we have different restaurants, different cultures, different perfume, but the process is pretty much the same. So once the customer arrives to the restaurant, is presented with a ceramic bell, which you can start, let's say, initiate with the smell the process, and then it will be served, of course, with a recipe which Yannick would have organized for the evening. And the customers, once the dinner is finished, will actually be able to bring back home the ceramic dedicated bell, with obviously with a ceramic which will remind them of the perfume, which is being obviously the core of the evening, and together with a small set of perfume. So again, is what I like to call multisensorial experiment on a very high obviously level, because obviously Yannick is probably one of the highest and well-known respected chef in the world, and he's a friend, which that is also very important. So this kind of experiment, they're not experiments which are based on an economic reason, but are based on cultural experiment. That is very, very important to understand, because every collaboration we do are mainly done on a basis of creating some link between the perfumery world and the other forms of art. And we still have a lot to do, we still have a lot of ideas, we still have a lot of collaboration ahead, but so far we're doing really, really well.
I'm so happy to hear that, and mostly that all your projects are so young and so vibrant. I feel that the spirit of Xerjoff is going in a very interesting direction, from the colors of the bottles, from the design, all the items, and mostly the most important is that each year they create beautiful events for us, the brand ambassadors, influencers, the press. Yesterday was a very beautiful party organized here in Cannes, and I was honored to be part of it. So what was, let's say, the dream that you had when you were a child, as a scented memory?
Well, if I have to tell you the full story, when I was a child, my dream was to become a designer, and I did become a designer. But nevertheless, the influencer smell has always been part of my family. Actually, we can easily go back to my grandparents, who were also very fond of perfume. So was my father and my mother, and so on. So perfume has always been an important part of the everyday's life. It's not something that actually I grow afterwards, or it's always been there in some form or the other. So I did become a designer. And that is the reason why, when I decided 24 years ago to throw myself in a different field, if you can call it like that, I did have the experience of the way that a brand should communicate, from the design point of view, from the communication point of view. And I think the Xerjoff is the perfect blend, if you can call it like that, of my previous experience in design and communication and my new experience in the fragrance world. So I don't know if I can call it a dream. I think it's more a kind of a way of life, which is I'm particularly being blessed with, because we are blessed. I'm blessed like all of those persons in the world, that they do what they like every day, and that is despite the success or the economic behind it, the fact that you wake up in the morning, you do what you like, you're already winning. And so yes, it is a dream in a way, but it's a way of living at the same time.
And when it comes to create a brand, what would you advise for, let's say, the new generation of people who are young and they aspire to become an owner of a brand?
Well, I think the rules stays pretty much the same. I think that you have to be very careful at the beginning to step down, to put down the principle of the brand. Experience will change your path, will make you stronger, will make you wiser, but the promise that you made at the very beginning with your brand needs to be brought forward forever. So when the public sees that the promise that you made with your brand in terms of quality, innovation, whichever are most important for you, you need to stick and not to move away from there. It can be developed, it can be enriched, but not change. So that's, I think, is the main suggestion I give to anybody which has in mind to create a brand, to be faithful to the principle that you have designed from the very beginning.
That's such a wonderful advice, and to be honest, I'm very grateful that you took your time on an unexpected occasion to make this interview exclusive for our community, Notorious Stories. I'm Izabela. It was a pleasure to host this interview in Cannes. Thank you, Sergio. It was a
Thank you for your
pleasure
time.
to meet you.
You're welcome.